Admiral James Walker tried to hide his amazement as he walked into the giant meeting room of the Galactic Council. The ceiling stretched so high that it disappeared into darkness. Huge pillars made from strange blue stone lined the walls. The room was built to make visitors feel small, and it worked. "Remember why we're here," Walker whispered to his team of 5 human representatives. "Earth is counting on us." 37 alien species watched from their tall seats as the humans approached the center of the room. Some had too many eyes. Others had skin that changed colors. A few looked almost like giant insects. All of them stared down at the humans with what Walker could only read as cold interest. At the highest seat sat the Vex High Chancellor, Mordecai. His gray skin was wrinkled with age, and his long fingers tapped impatiently on the arm of his chair. The Vex were the oldest species in the Council and acted like they owned the galaxy. "Humans of Earth," Mordecai's voice boomed through the chamber. "We welcome you to galactic civilization." Walker nodded. "We thank the Council for this meeting. Humanity is eager to establish peaceful relations with—" Yes, Mordecai interrupted. "We have prepared terms for your integration." A hologram appeared in front of Walker. He read quickly, his face growing darker with each line. These weren't fair terms. They were demands. Earth colonies would be limited to 10 systems. The human military would be reduced by 80%. Earth would pay 35% of all mining outputs as protection fees. Human ships could not travel beyond approved routes. Earth technology would be supervised by Council observers. Walker looked up. "These aren't terms for peace. They're terms for surrender." A ripple of what might have been laughter moved through the alien representatives. "Your species is young and violent," said a red-skinned alien to Mordecai's right. "These measures ensure the safety of all." Walker stood straight. "Humanity has overcome its violent past. We've united our planet and reached the stars peacefully." "After how many wars?" asked another alien, this one with 4 arms. "Your history is soaked in blood." "And yours isn't?" asked Lisa Grant, Earth's chief diplomat, stepping forward. "Every species has its dark chapters." Mordecai waved a long hand. "Enough debate. These terms are generous for a species so new to space travel. You should be grateful for our protection." Walker held back his anger. "Protection from what exactly?" "From the dangers of the galaxy," Mordecai said, his voice suddenly cold. "There are threats you cannot imagine lurking in the darkness between stars. Without us, you would not survive a century." Walker exchanged glances with his team. They had come hoping for real talks, not threats. "We need time to consider these terms," Walker said finally. "Take 3 Earth days," Mordecai said, "but know that these terms are not open to significant changes." As the human team left the chamber, Walker felt a chill run down his spine. He had expected tough negotiations, but this was different. The Council didn't want partners, they wanted servants. Back on their ship, the Earth team gathered in the meeting room. "They're not negotiating in good faith," Grant said, throwing the data pad with the terms onto the table. "These demands would cripple Earth's growth for generations." Walker looked out the viewport at the massive Council station. It was like nothing humans had ever built, a testament to technology centuries beyond Earth's reach. "We need to be careful," he said quietly, "but we also need to be ready. If these are their opening terms, I don't like where this is heading." He didn't say what everyone was thinking, that humanity might have to stand alone against the galaxy. But as he looked at the determined faces of his team, he knew one thing for certain. Humans didn't bow to bullies, not even ones from the stars. 3 days passed quickly on the Council station. The human team spent every hour studying the terms, looking for any room to negotiate. They found none. "It's our final meeting today," Admiral Walker told his team as they prepared. "Let's see if they're willing to listen to reason." Lisa Grant shook her head. "I've met with 6 different Council members. None of them budged even a little." Walker nodded. He had expected this, but still felt disappointed. The main Council chamber seemed even larger than before. Walker noticed more aliens in the viewing areas. News of the human delegation had spread, and many wanted to see the newcomers. High Chancellor Mordecai looked down at the humans with his yellow eyes. Has Earth considered our generous terms? Walker stepped forward. We have. And we have prepared a counteroffer. Murmurs spread through the chamber. No new species had ever offered counterterms. Walker's voice was clear and strong. Earth proposes a gradual integration over 50 years. We keep our military for self-defense. We share scientific knowledge equally. We pay a fair tax of 10% on new colony resources. The chamber went completely silent. Then, several aliens began to make sounds that Walker guessed were laughter. A tall, thin alien with blue skin stood up. This was the Zell representative, known for his sharp tongue. Your species truly doesn't understand its place, the Zell said. Your primitive ethical framework makes you think you deserve equal standing. How amusing. He continued to speak, his words growing more insulting with each sentence. He called humans barely evolved primates and lucky apes who stumbled into space. Walker listened silently. Around him, the human team's faces grew hard. They had come with hope, but that hope was dying with each word. The Zell was still talking when Walker suddenly stood straighter. Something had changed in his eyes. Enough, he said, his voice cutting through the Zell's speech. The chamber went quiet again. We came seeking mutual respect and fair terms, Walker said. You offer neither. He turned to his team and nodded. Without a word, they began collecting their notes and devices. The council members watched in confusion as the humans packed up. What are you doing? Mord, Kay demanded. Walker looked up at him. We're leaving. Leaving? The talks aren't finished, Mordecai said, true surprise in his voice. Yes, they are, Walker replied. Earth didn't send us to accept surrender terms. We came to meet new friends and allies. Clearly, that's not what the council wants. The human team formed a line behind Walker and began walking toward the exit. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Your species cannot survive alone in this galaxy. Mordecai called after them, his voice echoing off the walls. Walker paused at the doorway and turned back. Every alien was watching him. We've survived alone our entire history, he said calmly. We'll take our chances. The doors closed behind the humans, leaving the council in an uproar. Back on their ship, the team was quiet as they prepared to leave. Grant finally broke the silence. Was that wise? Admiral, walking out on the most powerful organization in the galaxy. Walker looked at the stars through the viewport. They gave us no choice. They weren't looking for allies. They were looking for subjects. Captain Miguel Torres entered the bridge. Orders, sir. Walker's face was grim but determined. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. As the ship pulled away from the station, Walker thought about what would come next. The council wouldn't forget this insult. Earth needed to prepare. What will we tell the president? Grant asked quietly. Walker turned to his team. The truth. That humanity stands alone against the stars. And that we need to be ready. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the council station behind. None of the humans looked back. Earth would need to change quickly. But if there was one thing humans were good at, it was adapting when their backs were against the wall. They'll be back within one galactic cycle. High Chancellor Mordecai said confidently. No species survives alone for long. 2 weeks had passed since the humans walked out. The council had returned to its normal business, treating the Earth incident as a minor annoyance. The grand meeting chamber was less crowded today. Only the main council members attended. Representatives of the 12 oldest spacefaring races. They sat in their high seats, discussing the human departure with little concern. Perhaps we should send a small fleet to Earth, suggested the Zell representative. A show of strength might help them understand reality. Mordecai waved a long-fingered hand. Not necessary. Let them sit alone for a while. Fear will do our work for us. The Vex had ruled the council for thousands of years. In that time, many new species had joined the galactic community. All eventually accepted the Vex's leadership, either willingly or through force. Only Tella, representative of the Ardani, seemed troubled. The Ardani had joined the council only 300 years ago, recently, by galactic standards. I've studied human history, she said, her voice soft but clear. They are more adaptable than we might think. The other council members turned to look at her. Tella was young by their standards, her blue-gray skin still smooth, her 4 eyes bright with intelligence. "What do you mean?" asked Mordecai, more curious than concerned. Tella stood, activating a hologram. It showed Earth's history of wars, technological jumps, and societal changes. In just 300 years, they went from horse-drawn carriages to spacecraft, she explained. Their entire history is marked by rapid adaptation to new threats. The Zell laughed, a hissing sound. Many species develop quickly, then plateau. Humans are no different. Perhaps, Tella conceded, but I recommend caution. Cornered animals are often the most dangerous. Mordecai sighed. Your concern is noted, Tella, but unnecessary. Humans will soon learn that survival in this galaxy requires cooperation, on our terms. The meeting moved on to other matters. No one paid attention when a junior officer quietly entered and handed a report to Mordecai's assistant. Later that day, in his private chambers, Mordecai finally read the report. It described unusual activity at human border colonies, increased mining operations, new construction, ships moving in patterns that suggested military training. For a moment, Mordecai felt a flicker of concern. Then he dismissed it. What could one young species possibly do that the council couldn't handle? He placed the report in his low-priority stack and promptly forgot about it. Over the next few months, similar reports arrived. All noted the same thing. Earth was busy. Too busy. And strangely quiet in their communications with other species. Each time, Mordecai and the other council leaders dismissed the reports. The Vex had ruled for 10,000 years. Humans had barely left their planet. There was no comparison. Let them play with their ships and stations, Mordecai told the council when Tella raised concerns again. When resources run low or pirates attack their colonies, they'll come crawling back. What no one on the council understood was that humans had no intention of crawling anywhere. In a secret facility deep within Earth's moon, Admiral Walker stood before the leadership of Earth's United Nations. The council gave us 3 options, he said, looking at the serious faces before him. Submit, die, or become strong enough that they must respect us. The president of the United Alliance nodded. Then our path is clear. On screens around the room, plans appeared. New ship designs, weapon systems, defense networks. Many were based on tiny glimpses of council technology the human delegation had managed to record during their brief visit. How long do we have? Asked the Chinese representative. Walker's face was grim. 6 months, maybe a year before they notice what we're doing. After that, we need to be ready. Across human space, a quiet revolution was beginning. On Earth and every colony, people worked with a single purpose. The council had made a critical mistake. They had threatened humanity. And then they had looked away. 6 months passed since the humans walked away. The Galactic Council had almost forgotten about them when the first report came in. High Chancellor, we've lost contact with mining outpost K-12, a Vex officer reported. Mordecai barely looked up from his other work. Equipment failure, most likely. Send a maintenance team. 3 days later, the maintenance team arrived at the outpost near the edge of human space. What they found was puzzling. The outpost wasn't damaged. It was simply empty. All the Vex workers were gone, along with key equipment and data cores. The team leader sent his report, which ended with one strange note. Footprints found don't match any known Vex pattern. Before the council could investigate further, 3 more outposts went silent. Then a research station. Then a small colony. All showed the same pattern. No signs of violence, just hasty evacuation and missing technology. In the council chamber, the mood had shifted from dismissal to concern. This is no coincidence, Tella said, standing before the other representatives. These facilities are all within 2 jumps of human space. The Zell representative hissed. Are you suggesting humans are responsible? They don't have the technology to prevent our sensors from detecting their ships. Perhaps they didn't 6 months ago, Tella replied quietly. Mordecai finally took the matter seriously when the Zell's largest trade station near human space went dark. 5,000 Zell and various other species. Gone. Enough, he declared. Send the 8th Fleet to the human border. Find out what's happening. Captain Lorix of the Vex military stood on the bridge of the largest warship in the 8th Fleet. 22 vessels moved through space behind him, a show of force that had made many species surrender on sight. We're approaching the last known position of the trade station, his navigator reported. Scan for debris or escape pods, Lorix ordered. Sir, the sensor officer suddenly called out. New contacts ahead. Lorix moved to the view screen. What he saw made him freeze. A line of ships hung in space before them. Not council ships, human ships. But these weren't the simple vessels humans had used before. These were massive, dark warships with sleek lines and weapons ports that glowed with energy. Behind them, half hidden in the shadow of a moon, were orbital platforms bristling with what looked like defense systems. How many? Lorix asked quietly. 43 ships detected, sir, and 18 orbital platforms. More may be hidden. Impossible, Lorix whispered. Humans couldn't have built all this in 6 months. Unless they were building in secret long before they met us, he realized. Sir, we're receiving an automated message from the human fleet. A simple text message appeared on screen. This is United Earth Defense Force Border Patrol. You have entered restricted space. Maintain current position. Do not approach closer than 100,000 kilometers. Lorix's second in command, a young Vex named Pax, moved to his side. They're bluffing, Pax said confidently. Those ships probably look more impressive than they are. We should show them what real warships can do. Lorix studied the human formations carefully. Something about them seemed odd. Familiar. Those formations, he said slowly. They're similar to our own battle patterns, but with variations I've never seen. Sir, they've been studying us, Lorix realized, watching how we fight. A chill ran down his spine. The Council had dismissed humans as primitive, but these ships told a different story. This wasn't a hastily assembled defense. This was a carefully prepared welcome. Lorix made his decision. We hold position. No aggressive moves. But sir, our orders. Our orders were to investigate, not start a war. Lorix cut him off. As the Council fleet maintained its position, more human ships emerged from behind planets and moons. They took positions in precise formations, their weapons ports glowing but not firing. The message was clear. We are ready for you. Lorix opened a channel to High Chancellor Mordecai. The Council needed to know. Humanity was no longer hiding. High Chancellor Mordecai paced in the Council chamber, his long robes sweeping the floor. Captain Lorix's report had disturbed him deeply. This is unacceptable, he finally announced. Humans cannot be allowed to build a military presence of this size without Council approval. The 12 senior Council members murmured in agreement. Only Teller remained silent. I authorize a corrective action, Mordecai declared. Captain Lorix will demonstrate our power and remind the humans of their place in the galaxy. Back at the border, Lorix received his new orders with a heavy heart. 20 years of military service had taught him to recognize dangerous situations. This was one of them. Sir, the humans have sent a message, his communications officer reported. They say any hostile action will be met with equal force. Lorix nodded. Send the response the Council ordered. The message was simple. By order of the Galactic Council, human forces must stand down and submit to inspection. Failure to comply will result in immediate action. The humans didn't respond. Move the fleet forward, Lorix ordered reluctantly. Target their lead ship with warning shots only. The massive Council warships advanced toward the human line. Weapon systems powered up, their energy signatures lighting up space. Sir, the sensor officer called. The human ships are changing. On the view screen, Lorix watched as the human vessels shifted position. Some seemed to shimmer and partially disappear from sensors. Others rotated to present different weapon arrays. Fire warning shots, Lorix commanded. 2 kilometers from their flagship. Energy beams lanced out from the Council ships. But something strange happened. The beams curved slightly before they reached their target, missing by much more than 2 kilometers. What happened? Lorix demanded. Before anyone could answer, the sensor officer shouted, "Energy spike from human vessels." Space lit up as the human ships opened fire, but not in the way anyone expected. Their weapons didn't fire in the normal blue-white energy beams of standard space weapons. These were different, pulses of green light that seemed to phase in and out of normal space. The first shots hit a Council cruiser. Instead of impacting against its energy shields, they passed right through them like they weren't there. The ship's hull cracked open, venting atmosphere into space. "Impossible," Pax shouted. "Nothing can bypass our shields." But the evidence was right in front of them. 3 more Council ships were hit, their shields useless against the strange human weapons. "Return fire," Lorix ordered, knowing it might be too late. The Council fleet unleashed its full power. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the human line. But most missed their targets completely, as if the human ships weren't quite where they appeared to be. Those shots that did connect revealed another surprise. The human ships had energy shields, technology that should be far beyond their capabilities. Even more shocking, the shields seemed to adapt after each hit, becoming stronger against that specific weapon. They'd been studying our technology, Lorix realized. Not just copying it, improving it. 7 Council ships were crippled or destroyed in the first 3 minutes of battle. Not a single human vessel showed significant damage. "Retreat," Lorix ordered, swallowing his pride. "All ships, full reverse. Get us out of range." As the Council fleet pulled back, the human ships did not pursue. They remained in their defensive line, weapons ready but no longer firing. In the Council chamber, stunned silence greeted Lorix's battle report. 7 capital ships lost without destroying a single human vessel. "How is this possible?" the Zell representative finally asked, his voice no longer confident. Tella stood up, her 4 eyes looking at each Council member in turn. "I warned you," she said simply. "We underestimated them." Mordecai's hands trembled slightly. For the first time in centuries, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Fear. 2 weeks after the failed attack, border skirmishes spread along human space. Most ended the same way, with Council ships retreating after taking heavy damage. In one battle, something unexpected happened. A human officer was captured when his small scout ship was disabled. The Council military brought him to a secure base for questioning. Lieutenant Tom Wilson sat calmly in the interrogation room. Unlike most captives, he showed no fear of his alien captors. "How did humans advance so quickly?" the Vex interrogator demanded. "Your technology is beyond what should be possible for your species." Wilson simply stared back, silent. After hours of questioning with no results, Tella requested permission to speak with the prisoner. Mordecai agreed, desperate for answers. Tella entered the room alone and sat across from Wilson. "I am not here to threaten you," she said gently. "I truly want to understand." Wilson studied her for a long moment. Something about this 4-eyed alien seemed different from the others. "You really want to know?" he finally asked. "We never wanted war." "Then why prepare for one?" Tella asked. "Because you left us no choice," Wilson replied. "When Admiral Walker returned from the peace talks, he brought back more than just rejection. He brought data." Wilson leaned forward. "Our scientists studied the Council station while we were there. We learned 2 important things." Tella waited, her 4 eyes fixed on him. "First, your technology isn't as advanced as you pretend. You've been using the same systems for centuries with little improvement." Wilson's eyes hardened. "Second, and more important, we discovered that the Vex and their closest allies have been holding back other species, keeping them dependent." Tella's breathing quickened. This was something many newer Council species had suspected but could never prove. "How?" she asked quietly. "By controlling access to key resources, by sabotaging independent research, by making newer members think they need Council protection when they don't." Wilson's words hung in the air between them. "We decided that if the Council wouldn't accept us as equals, we would have to protect ourselves," he continued. "But we didn't just build weapons. We reached out." "To whom?" Tella asked, though she already suspected the answer. "To other species like yours. those who joined the council recently, those who are treated as second-class citizens. In the council chamber, chaos erupted. Tella had shared Wilson's revelations, and several representatives of newer species were demanding answers. Is it true? The Ardani representative shouted at Mordecai. Have you been deliberately keeping us technologically dependent? The Zell representative stood. These are human lies. They're trying to divide us. Then explain why our scientific breakthroughs mysteriously fail whenever we research certain technologies, demanded the Norva representative, another newer species. As accusations flew, an aide rushed into the chamber. Urgent report. He called over the noise. We're receiving word of uprisings on multiple resource worlds. Mordecai's face paled. Which worlds? All of them, Chancellor. Across council space, the newer species are revolting against council authority. And they're using weapons, human weapons. The chamber fell silent. The humans didn't just study our technology, Tella explained into the silence. They shared their innovations with those of us you've kept down for generations. They offered respect instead of dominance. Mordecai slowly sat down, the weight of understanding finally hitting him. Humans hadn't been planning for war with the council. They had been planning a revolution. In his private chambers later, Mordecai reviewed reports of council authority collapsing across multiple sectors. 6 species had already declared independence from council rule, forming some kind of alliance with humans. A message from Admiral Walker appeared on his screen. You still have a chance for peace, but this time, as equals. Mordecai closed his eyes. The universe had changed forever, all because the council had refused to treat one species with respect. 1 year had passed since humans walked away from the peace talks. The galaxy had changed more in that year than in the previous 1,000. Admiral James Walker stood outside the council chamber, straightening his uniform. With him were representatives from 6 former council species who now formed the coalition of independent systems alongside humanity. Are you ready, Admiral? Asked Tella, who had become Earth's strongest ally. Walker nodded. Let's hope they're ready to listen this time. The chamber doors opened. Inside, the room looked the same, but the mood was entirely different. Many seats stood empty. The Vex still led the council, but their power had shrunk dramatically. High Chancellor Mordecai watched as Walker and his allies entered. The human walked with confidence, not the uncertainty of his first visit. Admiral Walker, Mordecai said, his voice lacking its former power. The council welcomes you. Walker looked up at the remaining council members. I notice your welcome sounds different this time. A few nervous laughs came from the coalition representatives. Much has changed, Mordecai admitted. The council is diminished. Indeed it was. The Vex-dominated council had lost half its members to the new coalition. Their trade routes were disrupted. Their resource worlds were in revolt. Their military had suffered defeat after defeat. We are here to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence, Walker said, taking the center position where once he had stood as a supplicant. The coalition has prepared a proposal. A data package was transmitted to each council member. As they viewed it, their expressions showed surprise. These terms are fair, said the Zell representative, sounding confused. Did you expect revenge? Walker asked. We don't want war. We never did. We just refuse to be treated as inferiors. Mordecai studied the terms carefully. Trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, technology exchange programs, all based on equality, not dominance. Why offer peace now? Mordecai asked. You have the advantage. You could demand much more. Walker looked directly at him. Because that's not who we are. Humans have spent too much of our history fighting. We've learned something important. True strength isn't about conquering others. It's about lifting everyone up. The chamber was silent as his words sank in. We've changed too, Tella added. Those of us who joined the coalition have found something we never had in the council: respect. We work together as equals, and we've advanced more in 1 year than in centuries under your rule. Negotiations continued for hours. When they finished, both sides had agreed to basic terms. A new galactic order was taking shape, one based on cooperation instead of control. As the meeting ended, Mordecai asked to speak with Walker privately. In a small room off the main chamber, the ancient Vex looked at the human with new eyes. "I must know," he said quietly. "How did humans advance so quickly? How did you unite so many species against us?" Walker smiled slightly. "The answer to both questions is the same. For most of our history, humans fought each other. We were divided by borders, languages, beliefs. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times." His eyes met Mordecai's. "When you threatened us, you gave us something rare: unity of purpose, all humans working together instead of against each other. And when we reached out to other species with respect instead of demands, they joined us willingly." Mordecai nodded slowly, finally understanding. "We mistook your desire for peace as weakness," he admitted. "A common mistake," Walker said. "Peace isn't the choice of the weak. It's the wise choice of the strong." As Walker left to rejoin his team, he looked back at the council chamber. The peace that would grow from today wouldn't be perfect. There would be challenges ahead. But for the first time, humans and aliens would face them as equals. All because one delegation had the courage to walk away from bad turns and the wisdom to return with better ones.